you see me on The View Tuesday afternoon? Did you see when they said, we don't believe there's a Trump mandate? I said, oh, really? Did you see the former press secretary for the White House come on? I think Stephen A. is wrong. I don't believe what he said is correct. Donald Trump has the lowest approval ratings in the first month or so, or the 2 months of a presidency in American history. Oh, really? But didn't he win all the swing states? Didn't his popularity elevate within 89% of the counties in the United States of America? And then you got folks like Candace Owens, who's a Trump supporter, along with various others with their microphones, their cameras, and their audience. If you think the liberals are overcoming that, you go ahead and watch Schumer and those 21 other senators talk their drivel. J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or somebody will be the next president in 2028. You'll have nobody but yourselves to blame. As if for this edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. I ain't got time to talk to this.
Stephen A. Smith is calling out the DNC for what he says is pure performative outrage, and it's explosive. The outspoken sports broadcaster turned political firebrand didn't hold back as he blasted figures like Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, accusing them of stoking hysteria over Donald Trump. The comments are bold, jaw-dropping, and impossible to ignore, and we've got all the clips right here. So smash that subscribe button if you haven't already, and let's get started.
Out of their way to post messages on social media about the current Trump administration and what's happening to American lives. The problem is they're all literally saying the same damn thing. Don't believe me? Check it out.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
Shh, that ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down, they're up. Inflation is getting worse. Not better. The prices of grocery, gas, housing,
Now you see why Stephen A. Smith was in the polls as a presidential candidate? You see what I'm talking about? You see that idiocy right there? You talk about something, people being tone deaf.
Stephen A. opened by blasting Democratic senators for being painfully tone deaf, accusing them of pushing a recycled, robotic message that feels completely disconnected from everyday Americans. According to him, it's like they're reading straight from a political textbook instead of speaking with authenticity or urgency. He pointed out how party leaders endlessly repeat the same talking points, warning about rising prices, declaring the economy is in shambles, and attacking Trump's hardline stance on illegal immigration, yet offer nothing new or convincing. Rather than addressing voters' real concerns with clarity and honesty, Stephen argues Democrats rely on scripted outrage and predictable narratives. The result, he says, is a message that sounds forced, stale, and completely out of touch. In his view, this lack of originality and emotional awareness is exactly why so many Americans are tuning out, frustrated by leaders who talk at them instead of actually speaking to them.
22 Democratic senators be literally echoing the same thing and think that would resonate with the American people. All it shows is that the same fabric of our democracy is unchanging in the eyes of some of these officials, and as a result, the constituency they represent, which is why Donald Trump is in office. What, do I have to come up to Capitol Hill and give you lessons? Seriously, you don't get it? Oh, you did. Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, Chuck Schumer. Let's all get together. Let's put this in a prompter, and all together, albeit in separate rooms, we'll grab a microphone and say the same damn thing. And that's what's going to resonate with the American people. And then you wonder why you're no longer.
According to Stephen A., the Democrats' current strategy is doing exactly what they shouldn't be doing, playing straight into Donald Trump's hands. He argues this is the same approach that helped propel Trump to the White House in the first place, yet party leaders seem determined to repeat the mistake. Instead of adjusting their message or acknowledging voter frustration, Democrats continue relying on rhetoric that feels disconnected from everyday reality. Stephen A. emphasized that Trump succeeded because he knew how to communicate with ordinary Americans. His messaging was simple, direct, and emotionally resonant. Whether people loved him or hated him, they understood what he was saying. Trump spoke like a regular person, not a polished politician reading from prepared remarks. That relatability, Stephen A. noted, allowed him to connect with voters across class lines. By failing to recognize this, Democrats risk reinforcing the very political dynamic they claim to oppose.
Typical politicians, oh, inflation is high. Oh, look at them pointing the fingers at the migrants. Oh, look at them blaming immigration. They don't care about you. Oh, by the way, look, they don't care about the, well, why would you bother people from the LGBTQ community? Would you bother folks with transgender and all this? Why would you do that? That is what the Democrats say. That's what most politicians would say. Here's Trump. They're pieces of shit. They don't give a about you. It's rigged. They've hoodwinked you all the time. They think you're a freaking joke. They give you the anytime they want to. Here's Trump. Them. They ain't worth shit.
Stephen A. argues that Donald Trump speaks from the heart, delivering his message with a passion that genuinely resonates with his audience. According to him, it's that raw energy, the charisma that electrifies a crowd and the unapologetic confidence that draws supporters in, that sets Trump apart from traditional politicians. Trump doesn't sound rehearsed or scripted, and that authenticity, Stephen A. notes, is exactly what fuels his appeal. He projects certainty, conviction, and confidence, qualities many voters find reassuring in uncertain times. Even when Trump stumbles or makes controversial decisions, he rarely hides from them. Instead, he confronts mistakes head-on, often acknowledging them openly rather than deflecting blame. To his supporters, that willingness to own his flaws makes him feel human, not manufactured. Stephen A. believes it's this emotional connection, not policy papers or political jargon, that keeps Trump's base energized and fiercely loyal.
His followers say, yeah, that's how we want you talking to those politicians who've been stealing our money all of these years. It's not what he says. It's how he says it. He does it with vitriol and venom to show a disrespect to politicians who the public have no respect for because they feel they've been hoodwinked by those same politicians. He's using it to separate himself from the cesspool that is Capitol Hill. And how does Capitol Hill respond? By showing them they're still Capitol.
Stephen A. breaks down why MAGA Nation remains fiercely loyal to Donald Trump, arguing it comes down to one simple truth: Trump openly dislikes the same people they do. He doesn't pretend to be diplomatic or neutral, and that blunt hostility is exactly what his supporters find refreshing. According to Stephen A., Trump speaks about political elites, corporate insiders, and media figures with open contempt because he knows his base has little sympathy for them. Many Americans, he notes, see these groups as morally compromised after years of financial scandals, insider deals, and perceived hypocrisy. Trump taps directly into that resentment, saying out loud what his supporters already feel. Instead of defending institutions they no longer trust, he attacks them relentlessly. Stephen A. argues the shared opposition creates a powerful bond between Trump and his base, one built not just on ideology, but on mutual frustration, anger, and deep distrust of the establishment.
See me on The View Tuesday afternoon? Did you see when they said, we don't believe there's a Trump mandate? I said, oh, really? Did you see the former press secretary for the White House come on? I think Stephen A. is wrong. I don't believe what he said is correct. Donald Trump has the lowest approval ratings in the first month or so, or the 2 months of a presidency in American history. Oh, really? But didn't he win all the swing states? Didn't his popularity elevate within 89% of the counties in the United States of America? Didn't his popularity elevate within the black community?
Here, Stephen A. fires back at those who continue to downplay or dismiss Donald Trump's popularity, arguing that they're simply denying political reality. According to him, the evidence on the ground tells a very different story. Trump remains enormously popular with a significant segment of the American electorate. Crowd sizes, polling momentum, online engagement, and voter enthusiasm all point to a movement that refuses to fade. Yet Stephen A. criticizes the Democratic establishment for ignoring these signals altogether. Instead of confronting uncomfortable truths, the DNC relies on narratives pushed by friendly analysts, partisan allies, and sympathetic media outlets. By doing so, he says, they replace reality with political convenience. Stephen A. warns that this echo chamber mindset is dangerous because it blinds party leaders to genuine public sentiment. When leaders reject what voters can plainly see, he argues, they don't weaken Trump, they strengthen him.
He win the popular vote for the first time in 20 years as a Republican nominee? Didn't he also win the Electoral College vote? Isn't he in control of the White House? Don't the Republicans have the House and the Senate? All of that happened, but there's no Trump mandate. You see is it? Or is it just that the Democrats are so damn lost that they're actually going to convince themselves they can do the same old and still regain power, both in the midterms and in the 2028 election?
And here's the crux of the issue. Democrats seem convinced they can win the next presidential election by recycling the same worn-out strategy that's already failed them. They believe relentlessly demonizing Donald Trump, downplaying his achievements, and dismissing his political credibility will be enough to sway voters. According to Stephen A., that thinking is deeply flawed. Constant attacks without self-reflection only reinforce Trump's image as a political outsider under siege. Instead of offering a compelling alternative vision, the party leans on fear-based messaging and personal attacks voters have heard countless times before. Stephen A. points out that many Americans are less interested in outrage and more focused on results, leadership, and authenticity. By refusing to evolve their approach, Democrats risk looking obsessed with Trump rather than focused on the country. In his view, repeating the same playbook while expecting a different outcome isn't strategy, it's denial.
I'm here to tell you that's not going to happen because Trump has the power now. And he's manipulating the proceedings. And in case you didn't notice, one of his top boys, Elon Musk, Doge, owns X. Who else was at the inauguration? Jeff Bezos. The man running TikTok. And Lord knows who else.
It's remarkable how Donald Trump managed to attract support from places few ever expected, including parts of Silicon Valley, a world not typically known for political activism. These are people driven by innovation, technology, and business, not party loyalty. Yet many of them found Trump's approach appealing. Stephen A. points out that this shift signals something deeper than ideology, it signals influence. Trump also gained backing from massively popular podcasters and digital personalities like Joe Rogan and Candace Owens, voices with enormous, highly engaged audiences outside the reach of mainstream media. Unlike cable news, these platforms speak directly to millions of listeners who distrust traditional political messaging. Their support amplified Trump's message far beyond rallies or press conferences. According to Stephen A., this emerging coalition, tech leaders, independent thinkers, and alternative media powerhouses, represents a new political battlefield. And it's one Democrats continue to underestimate, even as it reshapes how voters consume information and form opinions.
Folks like Candace Owens, who's a Trump supporter, along with various others, with their microphones, their cameras, and their audience. If you think the liberals are overcoming that, you go ahead and watch Schumer and those 21 other senators talk their drivel. J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or somebody will be the next president in 2028. You'll have nobody but yourselves to blame. As if it is edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. I ain't got time to talk to this.
Issues a blunt warning. If Democrats fail to course correct before the next election cycle, they risk losing not just to Donald Trump, but to J.D. Vance, or virtually any Republican nominee. According to him, the real problem isn't the candidate on the other side. It's the Democrats' refusal to confront their own shortcomings. He argues that voter frustration is growing, and without a serious shift in messaging, priorities, and leadership, that frustration will continue to benefit Republicans. Stephen A. calls this a harsh political reality Democrats still haven't fully accepted. Instead of asking why millions of Americans feel disconnected from the party, leaders retreat into familiar talking points and ideological comfort zones. In Stephen A.'s view, elections are rarely lost because of an opponent's strength alone, they're lost because of internal blindness. Until Democrats face that truth honestly, he warns, defeat remains a very real possibility.
News doesn't get any better in terms of how much they spent to win. The Harris campaign reportedly paid Al Sharpton's nonprofit organization $500,000 prior to the vice president's sit-down with a civil rights activist and an MSNBC host. According to records from the Federal Election Commission, the Harris-Walz campaign made two separate donations of $250,000 to Sharpton's group on September 5th and October 1st. Harris sat down with Sharpton for an MSNBC interview that aired on October 20th, nearly 3 weeks after the donations from her campaign to the National Action Network took place.
In the end, Stephen A.'s message is unmistakably clear and deeply unsettling for the Democratic Party. He argues that modern politics is no longer driven by scripted outrage, recycled slogans, or carefully managed media narratives. Voters want authenticity, conviction, and leaders who speak plainly about real-world struggles. According to Stephen A., Trump's enduring appeal comes from his emotional connection with supporters and his willingness to challenge institutions many Americans no longer trust. By ignoring this reality, Democrats risk repeating the same mistakes that have already cost them dearly. Demonizing opponents without offering real solutions only fuels resentment and strengthens the opposition. Stephen A. believes the next election won't be decided by headlines or hashtags, but by who truly understands the public mood. Unless Democrats abandon denial and confront uncomfortable truths, they may once again find themselves stunned on election night, watching victory slip away, not because they were outmatched, but because they refused to adapt. And that brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.